The Leftovers. The Leftovers is a drama fantasy mystery genre show created by Damon Lindelof and Tom Peretta. The show is based after the 3-year disappearance of 2% of the global population. A group of people in a small New York community try to continue their lives while coping with the tragedy of the unexplained nature of the event. The show's leads are Justin Theroux as Kevin Garvey, Amy Brenneman as Laurie Garvey, and Christopher Eccleston as Matt Jameson. The show is available to purchase on Amazon Prime Video. Woo! So, The Leftovers. The Leftovers has a lot in common with the current pandemic we're all facing. Imagine Avengers Endgame, but without superheroes, and a more naturalistic, abstract take of the show that is The Leftovers. For one, the best analogy that I can give you guys, imagine if you've got a cookbook, right? And imagine you yourself, you're not a very fond cooker, right? You pick up the cookbook, you wave your finger around and you go, I want to do this, right? You pick it up, you make it. Realistically speaking, it should not be great. It should not be great whatsoever. You start doing it, you give this meal to a couple of people, your dad, your mum, your dog, a loved one, whoever the case might be. And they all turn around back to you and they say, you know what? This is great. I like this. I want more of this. And that is how I would explain The Leftovers. Because this show deals with the element of questioning the audience's morals. The show even questions your beliefs as in religion and in God. And with the current state of the 21st century, a show like this is really meant to actually offend you, really, with pure based on the fact that everybody nowadays has an opinion. But this show, man, it just makes it work. And it's some of the most abstract, transcendent filmmaking that I've seen from a TV show. It's like a phenomenon that you're never going to get with any other show that you could currently watch or purchase anywhere, maybe in the world. Honest to God, like it is that intriguing. The Leftovers is a kind of show where this show it's not a clear-cut thing. This show doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you didn't know you needed. Which means in the duration of this show, you're just going through twists and turns. And you're like, I didn't see that coming, but I like it. And the show establishes that nature so very well. And just to talk on to more good points of The Leftovers, I want to take you through some of my favorite experiences that I had with season 1. For example, the 4 episodes that I enjoyed the most being episode 3, Christopher Eccleston. I mean, this is probably the best that I've ever seen him probably act. I mean, bit of a contradictory for me to say, because I can't really say verbatim that I've watched every other thing that Christopher Eccleston has done. I mean, we all know he was in For the Dark World, and we all know what happened with that film. And don't you worry, his performance is a complete 180 to that garbage. So not garbage from his acting, but it just didn't work, that film in general. But yeah, Christopher Eccleston, the character arc he takes in episode 3, it's like, from the 4 Pacific episodes I'm talking about, they all felt like they were movies. They all had like, they felt like they had a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I think that's really soothing for me as an audience. Remember, I don't like when things kind of get drawn out too much. And within these episodes, it's very to the point. This is the character. And I really do enjoy that. And so, yeah, Christopher Eccleston as Matt Jameson as this priest, you know. And everybody in this current situation is flawed. They've lost loved ones. And it's very interesting to see how a priest deals with that level of loss, because, you know, you can only imagine someone who's a priest. They're always having to be that person that is there for another person. And I found it really intriguing to see how his character dealt with the loss himself. And, you know, because obviously his understanding comes from the sense of that he is a religious person, and his journey's thrilling and it's heartbreaking, and from an audience member you can only feel like, I can't wait to see where this goes in season 2. Now this one episode, I watched this episode at least, I watched this episode 3 times, I'm not joking to you. And it blew me away. Episode 6 of season 1 of The Leftovers is unbelievable. That is everything that you want from a TV show. And I absolutely loved it. Just the characterization of Nora Durst. I think Carrie Coon was bloody amazing. I mean, how many people can say that in the current world of streaming that we all know from Netflix, that I've taken my own time to go back and watch that episode 3 bloody times? That's how good it is. Look, guys, I don't usually do stuff like that for any, ask people that I know. I don't do that for many shows. I just could not believe the level of acting from Carrie Coon. It's mesmerizing to me personally. And you gotta respect somebody that, as an actor, they're dealing it with such care of this woman that's gone through tremendous loss. And you can only imagine that, because looking at her performance, you know, you can see it's taken a toll, you know, on the actor, but in the most professional manner. And, you know, you gotta respect that when you see that on screen. And just to add to that is obviously the character of Holy Wayne. Creepy. You believe, so with his character, you obviously think he's a bad guy, but then obviously things, again, this show just goes with twists and turns. You're like, what the actual crap, what is actually happening right here? But episode 9 and 10. Man, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. You know, and with I'm lost for words because the shows are good, but episode 9 and 10 obviously goes more into a little bit more of the main characters of the Garveys that we follow throughout the season. And you understand the level of guilt and shame that they go through, because I can only imagine when someone's bereaved or someone's lost someone, and then someone goes to another person, oh, you know, I mean, they're probably doing this in the most respectful way, but if they, you know, if people say to you, I'm sorry for your loss, I'm sorry about this, I can only imagine that there's a slight element of anger there, because that person could never really, if they've never had that experience for themselves, how will they know how it's going to cater for that one person? And the way that these characters deal with their anger, it's believable. People don't, you know, people don't just wake up one day and just think, I'm able to forget about it. They don't. You know, it's a prolonged phase of grieving, and I find it really interesting to watch, because these characters, there's days when you see them, they're uppity, they're cool, and there's days where they just take a dip, and it's for no, and you're just there like, that's the process, you know. So just to add to that, episode 10, I've never felt so just awkward. Not just. I've never experienced true terror like that from a show. Had that same. I've not had that same experience since watching Midsommar. And for those of you that have watched my Midsommar review, you know exactly what I said in that review, and it creeped me. I've like literally, I never had that sense of goosebumps and dread since Midsommar. That moment, episode 10, what the Guilty Revenant did, the bloody arseholes, man, honestly. And yes, the Guilty Revenant, you know, they are perceived as the antagonists in this show. And, you know, you kind of think that they're righteous people, they've got something to say, and then obviously, by the time you get to the end, it's all a 180, to be honest with you. You'll see it, they're like, wait, I thought these people were this, but they're really that, you know? I also think the journey of Tom, the son, was quite good. In the beginning, it's quite anonymous with his character. You don't really know as to where we're going with him. But then all of that gets kind of wrapped up and put in a nice little bow by the time you get to episode 9 and 10. Episode 8 had one of the most craziest edited scenes. They done an edit, and I'm still to this day thinking, how did they actually do that? And it's, you know, don't know how they done that. I think I think it was really interesting as well to see the character of Jill, to see where she was from, where she is in the present, but how she really was in the past. And by the time you get to episodes 9 and 10, when the show decides to go very deeply into those arcs, you're like, man, this is heartbreaking. She was just any other person, you know, and for her to go through this element of grief, and it's not even the grief of what you think it is, and this is why you need to watch this show, because it's bloody good. And I think I'll just quickly talk about Kevin. I still feel like there's a lot to explore with his character, you know. He's a guy that's very righteous. He's always trying to look for the good in people, but at the same time, he's flawed because of the event. And I think there's a lot of guilt with his character as to, you know, he's flawed in the sense of his life and how it goes, and he's the person looking at other people dealing with their losses, and he's thinking, why am I the person that people should look up to? And I think a lot of people in general feel like that. And I think with The Leftovers, I think this show, if you are somebody that has obviously lost a loved one or somebody you deeply cared about, I think this show perfectly depicts what it's like for someone to deal with a loss, you know, and just the different scales of emotion that they will go through. And I think that it can, in some way, it can give a lot of people closure to some, maybe the resentment or anger they might feel on a certain day, or on certain days. You know, they're able to forgive, and they're able to move on. It's just a great show that understands the element of grief. And to wrap it up, I'm going to give The Leftovers I'm going to give it a prestigious 9 out of 10. I really did enjoy season 1, and I cannot wait to see what happens in season 2. You have got to watch this show. If you don't, listen, we got a mountain of time at this to watch worldwide because we are all self-isolated. So guys, I really do recommend this. It's on Amazon Prime. Watch it, and honestly, you will not be disappointed, I can tell you that. So guys, like, comment and subscribe to the channel. Click here if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next video.